Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Ask the Trainer. I'm joined here with Sassy, Jonas, and Max. Hey guys, how's it going? We've got a small
Hello.
team today. Only a few of us, but we'll be able to answer hopefully all your questions on Cinema 4D, Redshift, and if you have anything color correction related, then we've got the main man here, Max. So yeah, so let us know while I'm doing this introduction if you have any questions. Just drop them in the chat and we can take a look at them for you. So as you guys know, we have a little introduction about the stuff that we do and all the content that we're kind of bringing to you guys throughout the next few weeks. So, we have our Ask the Trainers, which are every other Thursday, so every second and fourth Thursday of the month. And if you haven't already, I would, and we all would, seriously recommend checking out VFX and Chill with Hashi and Seth. It's a lot of amazing visual effects shots that they break down, and I think they're starting to have some guests on soon, which should be a lot of fun, and it's a really interesting and enjoyable watch. And we also have Demystifying Post-Production, which at the moment, this series is based on kind of color correction from set to post and back. And it's actually the fourth and final week this Monday. So definitely check that out. And that is some more details on here. And this is just all on our events page on our maxon.net website. And as you guys know, all of this stuff that we do is recorded, including today's Ask the Trainer. And that goes on our Maxon Training Team YouTube channel. So, we like to post everything on there that we do. And it's also like time stamped as well. So you can always like flick through and find some bits that are relevant to the stuff that you're doing. And we also have a handout. So, we have this handout inside of the webinar that you're watching now. And you can get access to, some t-shirts as well as the password for that, which is there, and all you have to pay is the shipping for that. So you can come represent along with us and grab your Maxon t-shirt. So hey to everyone as well. Hey Ona, Anders. Let me just open this up and just say hey to you guys. Hey John, thanks for being here and being live with us. It's lovely to see you all as always. And yeah, don't forget, drop those questions, whatever they are, just let us know, and we'll get to them. But before we do, Jonas, do you have something you want to show for us today?
Well, interesting question. Indeed, I prepared something to get you guys ready to ask your questions and to give you some time. So please ask your questions. Otherwise, this is going to be, well, probably a pretty silent Ask the Trainer session. But I will start and give you the chance to write down your questions. Also take advantage, like Ellie already mentioned, of the fact that we have Max here, who can answer color correction questions. So yeah, I'm gonna grab the screen.
Cool.
Here we go. All right, now you should see it. You should see Cinema 4D and a mouse.
Yeah.
Cool. So I was having a chat with someone the other day, and he came up with a very interesting challenge because he had some problem where he definitely needed a closed mesh. And this can be for 3D printing and all of these sorts of things. And well, you might know that in the mesh menu, we've got close polygon hole. Of course, I have to select the mouse first. And if I now go to mesh, add close polygon hole, we can close holes like this one. Let me undo this. We can also close this one, which is actually consisting of more than one polygons. And you can also see that the UVs are still intact. And well, now the problem is, what if you have multiple of these holes like I prepared here? So you can see every now and then there is a hole in there. So my initial thought was, well, let's just bring up mesh checking. And if you don't know where that is, you can go to the attributes manager, and under modeling, if we bring this up, there is a tab called mesh checking. And if we enable that, you can see that the mouse is very colorful now. You can check for all of these interesting things, but the one I'm after is boundary edges, because boundary edges are going to show me to highlight all of these polygons that are not there. So this is also something that happens quite often if you download something from all of those platforms where you can get free or also assets that you pay for. Sometimes they're just coming with holes, and as I mentioned earlier, in some cases this will break setups or make setups not work at all. So mesh checking is one way of finding out where these holes are, but you would still have to close them manually. So what if there was a way of doing that in one go? And I found a way. So let me disable mesh check. So what I did is I took advantage of one of my favorite tools inside of Cinema 4D, which is Voronoi fracturing. So let me go to the MoGraph menu. I hold down Alt to make the Voronoi fracture a parent of the body as I created. And now you can see that I fractured the mouse. But actually, I don't want it to be fractured. I want this to be one piece. So the first thing I do is I go to the Sources tab and I delete the point generator in here. So this will make it one piece. And then in the Object tab, there is one option that is very cool here. It's called Optimize and Close Holes. And as soon as I do that, you can see that all holes that have been in the mouse model are now gone. And also, if I uncheck Colorize Fragments, you can see that also the UVs are still intact. So this can be a little bit problematic sometimes when you are closing a hole that is on a UV polygon edge, like on the border of a UV island. Then it can be that it doesn't work. But whenever those polygons are in the middle of a UV island, it will work. So yeah, that's what I wanted to show, because I thought it was a quite cool workflow to close multiple holes in one go. So yeah,
it's a really cool trick.
Let me bring up my GoToWebinar interface and let's check for questions. Do we have?
There have been a couple of questions not related to this.
Yeah.
There is a couple relating to creating a mechanical snake. I don't know if you can see that from John. And then something also about like mocap data.
Okay. A mechanical snake. Okay, so let's just read the question out loud. I'm trying to create a mechanical snake. It is made up of several identical splines that I'm using as spline cloners to create up the length of the body. Is there a way to set it up where I can use one null to control the movement of all these identical splines? Let me think about that.
Yeah, we need a snake for the mouse, right? I'm sorry, I'm just joking.
Well, it's a valid joke.
Yeah.
The question.
Well, I'm trying to think of how it is made, because usually the way I would rig a snake, no matter if it's mechanical or not, I would try to make it follow one spline. And if I had like a real snake, I would maybe do that with a spline red deformer. And in case of a mechanical one, we could well, let me just try something. Maybe we can well, let's just create a snake out of cylinders. And let's make this one a little bit smaller, like so. And let's create a hierarchy of these, like so. And I think the last one should be null. Okay, and now let me select all of these. And in the coordinates tab, I'm going to distribute them in Z direction by typing in a little formula here. I'm going to use num. Well, actually, I don't need that because we've got a hierarchy. So let me just try 20. That's the wrong direction. 30 or 50 in that direction. And now let's create a spline as well, of course. And I think we should start with a straight spline. And I'm going to create that in top view. And I'm going to start here and create another point. Well, let me maybe enable snapping and snap to the grid. And let's just create a few more points here. And let's disable vertex snap, like so, and like so. Disable snapping again. So now we've got the spline. I'm going to set this one to B-spline so I get a nice rounding here whenever I move one of the points. And then I would try using a spline IK on here. So I go to reintex IK spline. And this is going to be my spline. And this is my end. And now let's see if it works. Because this is basically how I would set it up. So yeah, it's working. So they are not behaving correctly here because they are placed in the middle, I think. Well, the pivots are in the middle. But this is basically the approach I would use here. Yeah. So I hope this answers the question already.
And the question would be, as you asked already, why has he different segments? And you could combine these segments in a tracer, or you take one spline as you have shown, and to get on different areas of the spline, different segments, you could use the Mograph selection. So you stay with one spline, but you have different objects in each part, like the tail and the head and all these segments between, for example.
Mm-hmm. Like if you would have like some sort of wooden snake with all of these little pieces.
Yeah.
That would also work, yeah.
And you could put, after you have put all the things in the tracer and get a new spline, you can use the spline in a Mo spline and create even more movement inside of the Mo spline with effectors.
Yeah. Well, that's actually a cool challenge. I'm going to try to build that.
Thanks for playing.
All right, so yeah, let me get rid of everything except for the first cylinder, and we don't need this tag here. And I'm also going to make this really flat. Like, let's go with something like this. And now we're going to clone this onto an object, and this object is supposed to be the spline. So now we are cloning along here. So one thing that you see here is that the distribution is not equal. And what you can do about this is you go to the spline, you select it, and adjust the intermediate points to be uniform. This is also the case if you animate a camera or any object along a spline. If it's not uniform, you will have like a difference in speed based on where on the spline you are. or the object is. So yeah, let me increase the count here. Let's bring this up to something like 50. So now we've got our snake, but now we also need a start and an end. So let's see if that's going to work. I'm going to create a, where is it? A cone for the tail, for the end. And I'm also going to scale it down like so. And I'm going to use, what do we want to have as the tail, as the head? Maybe just
Like a sphere or something.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. Cool. And now we also make this a child of the cloner. And now I think we need to set this to sort. And now we can adjust the distribution of these guys here, of those different objects, with effectors. And so let me show this to you with a simple plane effector. There is one parameter in here that is called modify clone. And as you can see, if I bring this up to 100%, we can see that we are switching the object, we are swapping it using the effector. And now by adjusting the strength, we can, switch and swap. Okay, but I actually don't want to use the plane effector for this. I want to use a formula effector for this. Now, stay tuned because this is not too difficult. So, well, I hope that it's not too difficult. Let's find out. So I'm going to create the formula effector. And I'm also going to make the cylinder the first one. Now, in the formula effector, by default, we've got this very intimidating formula in there, but formulas don't have to be that complex. So simply, if you unfold this one here, the variables, you can see that we've got one variable that is called ID, and we can use that to address a clone. So if I type in ID equals 0, you can see that we are just affecting this very first one. All right, but now we need to define what we want to do with this guy. And instead of adjusting the position and the scale, I just want to add the modify clone, and here we go. So this is our snake's head at 50%. So this is our formula for the head. And now I'm going to, well, just create a copy of this. This is for the tail. And I'm gonna add it to the effectors here as well. And now you can see that this first one became a tail. And this is because the two effectors are now adding up to a weight of 1. And the weight of 1 means that modify clone is at 100%. So what I do in the effector tab is, instead of using the formula ID equals 0, I'm going to use the count and subtract 1 of it. So now you can see that it didn't work as I expected. That is interesting. Okay, let me see. So count minus 1. Well, ID equals count minus 1. Now it should do something. Okay, so it's overriding the first one, but doing nothing to the last one. That's interesting. What if I Interesting. Interesting. Let me start from scratch here, and let's just deactivate this one, and I'm gonna create this formula effector again. We're gonna use modify clone. We are also going to adjust the formula ID equals, well, let's just try something else. So now we have ID equals 5. Now if we go ID equals count -1 -2, well, somehow it does not work. And I wonder why. Okay, so in this case, if we know the count, we're just going to hack this. Our count is 50. So if we type in ID 49, because IDs are starting at 0 and then going up, then you see that our last one has got the tail. And if I enable the first one again, it's still overriding. Okay, so that's an interesting one. I'm sure I can solve it somehow, but
can you work with smaller and larger? I was answering a question, so I feel like I'm not listening, but
well, what we can do in theory is we can, let me try this. If we type in a plus and do this, let's see if both are working. Okay, that's okay. Cool. So now we've got this. And this could also be our solution, because if we, let me switch the other one on. Last time they added. Yeah, that's our solution. We're just faking it. Okay, I took advantage of the fact that I noticed earlier that those weights have been added. So
I use typically the formula: if something is this, then the value is that, or, and then put another question mark.
Yeah, but then we would need a Python effector instead.
No, the formula works.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try that. We're gonna do that again. So let's create another formula. Let's set this to off, and let's set the modify clone to 100%. Exactly. And now let's go to the formula. And do you know the syntax?
Yeah, delete everything.
And then if?
Is it the question mark instead of the if?
Question mark?
Yeah. Parenthesis open.
Yeah. And then
ID is larger than 49, for example. The little.
Let's just set it to 49 for now.
Okay.
And then
no, yeah. Then you need a
and then like this.
No. So sorry to. You are too fast.
Okay.
We need one more parenthesis after the question mark.
Like so?
So then please go to the end. After the semicolon. And then let's say 1.
Okay.
Semicolon 0. And close the parenthesis. Just to see what you get. So this means now if object number 49 is really the one that is processed at the moment, it becomes the value 1. If not, the whole formula is set to 0 and has no effect.
Okay, so if I understood correctly, this should then give me what we want. No.
And copy what you have just done and replace it with the 0 in the other formula without the plus. No,
Okay.
no, just the 0.
Like so.
I know it's live. It's all it's like walking through fog. I know that.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's investigate that and maybe show it next week then.
Okay. Maybe we try one more. What you have just selected, if you copy that and replace it with the 0 that you have in the first formula.
You mean here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That should do something.
Well, it does something.
And replace this with a 0.5.
Yeah.
Then we should see some effect somewhere. But I'm not in your formula. But
yeah,
the idea is practically, if something is true, then give me value 1. Or if something is not true, give me the second value. And when I replace the second value with a new formula in the same way, there we go. Perfect.
Fix it. We had to replace this one as well. So cool. I also learned something in this session already, because I didn't know that we can use ifs in the formula effector. That's pretty cool.
I never imagined that you could learn anything from me, because you are so brilliant.
Well, thank you, but that's actually not that true.
Just take it.
But thank you very much. Yeah, but now it's working, and so this could be, well, a rig for a mechanical snake. However, if you want to adjust a value here, for example, the count. So if we now set it to 100, for example, the setup will break.
Yeah.
Because we were using this number here. So the first one will always be correct, but the last one has to be, the actual count minus 1, like this.
Do you have a solution, or do I interrupt you?
For making this a variable, you tell me.
What I normally do is I go into XPresso and use the math add in integer, or not in integer, in string mode, and write the whole formula. And then I use from the cloner the amount of clones to pipe it in, and then go with the whole result into the formula.
Yeah, that's also possible. Yeah, I won't do that now. But yeah, I mean, we have it here. So one thing I would still add, and this is actually why I would maybe use the other setup instead with the 2 effectors. Let me just make this 99 as well. Oh, that's also interesting. ID equals 99 does not give me, because we have to change it here as well. So what we can do here, and we should actually do it in this one. Now we're, that's the tail. What we can do here now as well is we can adjust the position a little bit of this one. That's also wrong. And just place it here on the end. And now we got it working.
And a much simpler way to do maybe the variable would be to use the f variable in it that you have in the formula effector.
Mm-hmm.
There is in.
You mean the frequency you mean?
Yeah, and when you put the f in, you can use the XPresso expression set driver, set driven absolute from the count, and you might run into priority problems, but that's fixable.
Yeah, so cool. Yeah, we we became quite nerdy in here.
It's
we
really
talk about.
interesting watching you guys work and figure it out. And you've got a whole bunch of thank yous as well in the chat.
Oh, you're welcome, guys.
Stuff.
You are
Thank you.
welcome.
But I mean, mechanical snakes are for nerds, right?
Mechanical snakes are definitely for nerds. And Alessandro wrote something that I want to try in the original one. Let me try. Count -1, but in parentheses.
That's, of course.
And
yeah.
that's it. That's it. Now,
Yeah.
no matter
Yeah.
no matter what I do, if I type in, yeah, now it's flexible. Thank you, Alessandro. That's always what you forget when you do some programming.
Nice.
Whenever you just forget one parentheses or a semicolon or something, it's all broken. So here we go.
Yeah. Now do it live, and your whole IQ is limited to 50%.
Yeah. And anytime else as well.
No, but count -1 is, of course, yeah.
So
absolutely.
That's really interesting, really cool.
So the question was how to move now the whole thing with one null, and I think that's easy. But we could create maybe a little bit more, or is there another wonderful question? Lip sync animation is a question, but I never have found anything that really satisfies me, and I get always creeped out when I see these nervous mouse animations.
Lip sync is always tricky because many people think when they are not experienced yet that they have to create like a visual expression for each letter their character is saying, but actually that's not the case. What you should just have is if you have a more complicated sentence, like if you have a more complicated sentence, you would do something like you add M is in there. If you add a more complicated sentence, it sounds stupid, but those are the letters that you actually see when a character is talking. So you have to break it down a little bit, and most of the time reduce the stuff to, or reduce the line that you're animating to the vocals, and also to Fs, to Bs, to Ms, those that are really special. For example, there is, well, an M like this one, it's special. An F is also very special because it's the only one where you have the lower lip like a little bit behind the upper lip and stuff like that. But anything else is just, or in the most simple way, is just a mixture of mouth open and mouth close, and mouth wide and mouth narrow. This is how you can express everything, at least all the vocals. And then you need what I said, M's, F's, and B's, P's, stuff like that.
Or you go the sloppy way and you use moves by Maxon, and you record your face while you're saying the sentence and use the data to animate your character.
Yeah, it always depends on what your final result is supposed to be. I once had to create well, like a device that you use for heating a house, and it looked like a can with a very abstract face, and the mouth was just, well, just a polygon line more or less, and I had to do lip sync with it. So what I did is I really created just well, my basic shapes were mouth open, and then mouth narrow for O's and U's, and mouth wide for E's. And yeah, that was basically it. So in the end, I rigged it up to have 2 sliders, one for the mouth open and one for the mouth narrow and narrow and wide. And then it's also quite useful if you have one controller that can move the mouth to the left and to the right and up and down to create a little bit of asymmetrical variation to the whole thing. So that's how I would approach lip sync in general. To be more specific, it always, well, like I said, it depends on the character you have. If you have a real character with a face like the mouse, or also I think this is, yeah, this guy here. So then I would always start either using joints or using postmorphs, and even that is like a religious decision that you have to take at some point. So some people prefer going the postmorph way as much as possible. Others prefer to use joints whenever they can. But what they all have in common is that they are using postmorphs to create corrections for a mixture of shapes. So sometimes if you mix a smile with a mouth open, this can lead to a weird result. Or if you're doing eyebrow movement, this can also lead to weird results if you have like one eyebrow up like this and the other one down like so. It can be tricky, and those are situations where you would create a morph target that is just being blended into the setup if you have those 2 controllers active. For example, like the one for sad eyebrow here, angry eyebrow here, and then you would create like maybe a smooth transition between the 2.
And the next sloppy tip would be to have a delay factor set to points and reduce it to the points that you want to move. And if you have it just with the loudness triggered, to smooth out a little bit the movement. And then
that's an interesting setup to use. For example, the sound effector to drive the angle of a joint that is like controlling the mouth open and close, and then you can use the delay effector to smooth this movement, because sometimes you get very like a flickering mouth movement, so to speak. But I think it's a little bit better if you already activate decay inside of the sound effector.
It's all possible. It's as you said, it's a question where you start, and that gives the direction where you will end.
Yeah. So
questions. There was one question with 2 swing doors from a saloon, and my answer was to use XPresso and just set up driver driven, and so you can open them so they rotate in the opposite way pretty much.
So they should be rigged up so they are moving the same way but opposite. Maybe we can build this because it's quite easy. And
exactly.
Yeah, let's just try to.
And
first of all, let's create a wall.
Yeah.
Like so. And we move this one to this side and also up a little bit. And then I'm going to create a copy for the other side and just set its coordinates to plus 155. So this is our door. And then let's create our real door, like the saloon swing thing. So I go with 40 and 60 and 2. And that's the coordinates. I wanted to 40, 60, 2, something like this. Maybe even higher. So let's go with 1 meter. And
for the mouse door.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, and now this is door 1. Or let's say this is the door on the right. And now let's create a copy of this one. And let's place it on the left. So x minus, here we go. So that's our simple setup. There's one thing we missed, which is we have to adjust the anchor point. So the anchor point of the 2 doors should be somewhere here, maybe, and there. So there are 2 ways of doing that. Either we make them editable and really move the pivot here, or maybe let me get rid of this one. Oh, this one here. And the other way would be to group them in a null and use the null as the point for rotation, which would have the advantage that you are more flexible if you want to adjust the doors and whatnot. So
swap out the doors.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I will go that route. So let me move this one to this place, and I should have used snapping, but I forgot. So this is the one for the left door, and then we create a copy of this guy, place it on the other side like so, and now we have our doors. So if I now adjust the angle of the 2, and this
Going this way.
could be, which one is it?
H.
Here. Now you can see that the doors are moving in the very opposite direction. The other thing I always would do whenever I rig something is go to the freeze transformation tab and freeze all of the coordinates, because this will set the original coordinates to 0. So we've got 0 in all of the positions, we've got 0 in all of the angles, and it's set to 1 in all of the scales. And this is a good starting point whenever you create something in XPresso, because you start at 0 and not at 12.5709 or whatever. So now what I would do, there are 2 ways. Again, there are even more ways, but 2 ways that I can show. Either you can say that this one is the primary door and the other one is following that door always, or you can just create another object or a set of controls that is controlling both of them.
Or you
So
could put one door into a symmetry object.
Oh yeah, that would also be possible. Absolutely, that's the easiest way even. So
And
let me show this first. So we create a symmetry object, place the left door in here, and now if we move this guy, you can see that we can do it like this.
Of course, you have no drunken cowboys crashing through it, and then they have different things.
Exactly. That's point 1, and point 2 is what if you had, let's say, some text on here, then it would be mirrored over as well. So it's actually always better to go with 2 of them, and also to have like separate controls, like one for each door individually and one for having them both, because most of the time it looks more natural if you don't animate them symmetrically. But if you have like an offset of 1 or 2 frames in the wiggling of the door in the end, this would help definitely. So
exactly.
Yeah, let's say that our left door is our primary door, and I'm gonna add an XPresso tag from the programming tags here. So what we need here, it's not too bad. We need this one as a node, and we need this one as a node. And for both of them, we also need the, which one was it? The heading.
Yeah.
We need the heading. So the heading as an output here on the primary door, and the heading as an input for the right door. And now, if we just wire them up, we would get the opposite direction. So if I now move this one, you can see that the other one is always rotating the other way. So what I do instead is I add a new node in here, and this can be a negate or a multiply where you type in -1 or something.
Range
I'm
mapper.
going to go, or range mapper, yeah. But I will go with, where is it? Calculate, negate, and just wire it up. And here you go. That's already it. And that's, by the way, also a very nice, well, the same setup for cogwheels that you have to animate. And you can even output their count of teeth, for example, and create a formula within XPresso that dynamically adjusts the rotation values for each cogwheel if they have yeah, different teeth counts.
What you could do also without the to negate it, you rotate one of the nulls on its head, and then it rotates in this way.
Yeah, that would also work. That would also work. And there are scenarios where I would use that. For example, if I set this up using the pose library. But usually, I would do it this way.
Yeah, the beauty of the range mapper would be that the doors are not swinging exactly the same way. You could set up a little curve where one door is a little bit behind the other one. And
oh, that's true. Let's try that out. That's really cool. So let's go calculate and range mapper. And a range mapper is pretty cool because it has got an input, and it can be anything. By default, it's an input from 0 to 1, and the output is going from 0 to 1 as well. So they are equal. If you now type in -1 here, you invert the whole thing. So now, again, you can do this. But one thing that is really nice is that we have this spline down here. And we're using the spline already, but there is nothing in there. So what we can do is we can create a spline by holding down Control and clicking to create the knots. And then we can really create like crazy curves in here. And now if we here you can see that, yeah, if we move the right door is behaving differently than the left one.
Yeah. But
it's 100% controllable how it's moving. I just created a crazy curve to show that it's working.
And you can animate the curve over time so it doesn't show up each time in the same way.
Yeah. Cool. I think we got the saloon door.
Yeah.
Okay, let's search for another question.
EJ was talking about this at the Maxon show yesterday. I have watched it, but he has talked over an hour. So I don't know exactly what Dean is referring to.
I think it was referring to the animated lip syncing, I believe.
Okay, so
Anything
yeah,
else?
maybe we were talking a lot about the lip syncing, and in theory, that's all sounding logical and so on. But maybe we should just create a little setup. We totally forgot that.
You've said it now, so.
Now I said it.
You've said it.
So I'm going to create a new, it's going to be very basic. So
I just wanted to say, make the lip sync with the Saloon tool to us.
even that would work. Okay, I'm going with the plane. And yeah, let's just bring up the segments. And we don't need too many segments in height. And let's do something like this. We also need segments here. Okay, so this is our very simple mouth. Here we go. And maybe let's also, just for the sake of making it a little bit more organic, scale these a little bit. And let's also create 2 eyes. Here we go. And here we go. Cool. Now, it's looking great. I already love that character.
That's
so,
it. Finished. It's done.
Finished.
So I'll just
Finished.
leave it at that.
So, okay. Well, what we need is maybe we should make the mouth a bit smaller by default. And you know, the default pose should always be something neutral. It should never express any emotion, like be it positive or negative, nothing. It should just be bored. So what I do is I create a pose morph tag, because in this tag I can store different states of this geometry. And I have to activate points to do that. So I do that. And now I've got these things here. I've got the base pose, and here I've got pose 0. And now we can already name this mouth open. Hit return, and now we can, yeah, just shape the mouth, and we can do that in various ways. Yeah, let's just do it like that. I'm not using soft selection here because I think it would also break the top part of the mouth. So that's my mouth open shape. And if I now use the slider here, we can already see that it's working. And then I'm also going to add a new pose, and we're gonna call this one mouth narrow. This would be for O's and so on. And I'm gonna select all of the polygons, all of the points, and just scale them like this. So that's the pose. And then we're gonna create a new pose. This is gonna be mouth wide. And I'm gonna make it a little bit less high and a little bit wider. Okay, so now we have these 3 poses. We don't have any emotion in here, so we don't have an additional smile or something, but for lip sync, that's okay. Now we switch from edit mode to animate mode. And now we can use these sliders here to do the stuff. Okay, so now let's just imagine we want to animate something. So what is our phrase? Our phrase can be "Hello, guys." That's it. And as I told you earlier, we don't have to create shapes for all of these separate letters here, all we need to do is we need to find the way the mouth is moving while people are saying something like that. So in this case, because we don't have a tongue, we don't need a special shape for the L. If we had a tongue, we need an L. But hello guys can also be broken down into AOI. That's it. And let's try to animate that. So I'm going to set a few keyframes here, and let's see if is auto keying working here then. So we're going to make it wide, and we have to set keyframes for everything actually. So let's record animated. Oh no, that is too bad. That is too bad.
You have the right to remain silent. This is what the application tells you.
Yeah, I quickly have to unshare my screen because I don't know what I have open in the background.
I'm so sorry for you.
Can you grab the screen, Ellie, for a second?
I think we
Yeah, I'll grab it.
can finish this next time, and Ellie goes into the outro time-wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah,
On that terrible disappointment.
Yeah, that's
I really love
unfortunate.
that phrase.
It's just a teaser now for the next one.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Right. Well, yeah, we can wrap up now anyway. Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for going through some of those amazing questions. It's like everyone's saying, and I totally agree. It's so amazing and interesting watching you guys just kind of off the cuff work this stuff out and kind of figure bits out. It is yeah, it's really nice like, format. And Owen was saying, what a cliffhanger ending. It was all planned all along.
Will he ever speak again?
The whole time it was going to crash. That's the whole point. And thank you again to everyone who kind of asks questions. You know, that's why we do these Ask the Trainers, because we just it's interesting to know kind of the things that you would like to know, instead of kind of, you know, the normal webinars where we plan stuff. It's a nice format, and it's always lovely to, you know, have this informal chat through the questions with you guys as well. So really quickly again, just to go through some bits, don't forget next Monday is our final kind of post-production all on color, and Max, I believe is it Stu is guesting on that, which is going to be,
yeah, we'll have Stu Maswich, our chief creative officer, as a guest, and in that show we'll discuss with Stu all the things that you really want to know about film emulations, and you know why you know we embrace the aesthetics of film and all the process behind the creations of Magic Bullet Suite and Magic Bullet Film for sure. So yeah, I hope to see you guys there on Monday.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's definitely something I want to know more about, all the kind of color and all that like really interesting stuff. And also as a little kind of like teaser preview, in August the Demystifying Post-Production series is going to be all to do with film title design. So at the moment it's not quite on the events page, but it will be soon, so you'll be able to register for that. But yeah, it's all things to do with title design, looking at 3D text, looking at rendering out like multi-passes, and then comping everything together in After Effects. And there's a whole bunch of people on there. I'm not allowed to say who yet, but some cool people, and me, of course. So yeah, so
That's cool enough, Ellie.
Wait,
That's cool enough for me.
You should all be there. No, I'm kidding. It's so yeah, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, we're going to kind of do a bit of Redshift materials, as well as some like sculpting and sculpting brushes, and looking at the presets. So a whole bunch of things across 5 weeks in August. I think it is 5 Mondays. So again, thanks again to you guys for being here. Thanks to people who are watching. Don't forget your t-shirts.
No, where you
Thanks
can
to a
get
couple of guys who are
t-shirts.
saying they've already got their t-shirts. So yeah, we appreciate that. And yeah, you know, we're all here representing with ours as well. And yeah, thanks to Max, Sassy, and Jonas for
Thanks to
being
Ellie.
here and answering
Thank you
everyone's
so much,
questions.
guys.
Always a pleasure to see you guys and have a chat with you guys
Welcome.
as well.
Thanks for asking the questions.
Yeah, thank you to everyone. And everyone's so really lovely things in the messages saying they learnt a lot. Thanks to you all. Yeah, saying a bit of a dream team. So yeah, we appreciate that. That's always lovely for us to see and read. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Cool.
Cool.
Bye everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.